everyone. I'm Steph Campbell. Welcome to The Good Love, a show where a mom and son talk about the wounds we all carry but seldom speak aloud and the beautiful mess of being human. In this week's episode, we talk about personal lenses and how they shape our perception in life. Jonah and I then go into our own experiences to show their impact on our own lives. We ask each other some questions about greatness to gain a better understanding of how we see ourselves. Let's dig in.
Sometimes you gotta fail, taste the ground, and rise again for the good love to come along.
Okay, so here we are. Bring it on down to Podcastville. It's our kickoff day. Woohoo!
Whoop, whoop.
Welcome to the Good Love podcast with Steph and Jonah.
I'm Jonah, if you couldn't guess.
And I'm Steph. And I've got it's the big 50 mug because I guess people want to be ahead of the gang. I got an early birthday present by like 15 years.
It's amazing. Very thoughtful gift.
Yeah, it's the big 50. They're like 15 years. We're going to get you a gift for 15 years from now.
Well, welcome to our podcast, everyone. We are a podcast between a son and his mom. We've been doing it like this for 28 years. And we figured we'd finally start giving you guys a look into what our relationship is like and I guess how we use that to our advantage in life. And hopefully maybe you guys can take a little something away from how we talk, how we work through things, our dynamic. Maybe you can see a little bit of yourselves in us.
Yeah, and I think we also want to, if I may, were you done?
Please continue.
I think we also want to, on top of that, bring some hope and positivity to the world. Little humor interjected in some very, deep subjects that everybody thinks about, but, nobody really wants to talk about.
Yeah.
And parenting. And for those parents out there who will watch this, to just give you some hope into what if you're struggling with your children or have struggled with them, everything's possible all the time.
And for kids, because you all were kids at one point, hopefully I can provide a little perspective on what that's like in the parent-child dynamic. And yeah, hopefully you guys can take a little something from our experience and apply it to your own, and maybe it helps you get through something.
There you go.
I'm currently a graduate student working towards my marriage and family therapist license.
Hercules.
And my mom is a life coach. She's been working in that space for well over 20 years.
25.
Same thing?
No.
All right. Not the same thing.
25 years.
25 years.
Well
over 25 years. And she's been doing this kind of work for well over 40 years.
46
and counting. So we'd like to think that we have a little bit of an idea about what we're talking about. And we'll do our best to share that with you to see if you can find some value in it. So what's on the docket for today, Mama?
Well, we are today going to talk about, let me bring it up. And while I announce this, can you do me a favor? It's just easier for you to do than me. Can you just go grab about 3 Werthers? My blood sugar's dropping.
Sure.
And I don't think it's not dropping that low, but just in case I got to stick some sugar in my mouth.
Sounds good.
Would you mind doing that?
Absolutely.
Thank you, honey. And I will pull up the note here. Today we are chomping on. Are you listening? I know that you know this already, but thank you. Personal lenses built upon personal experiences including early childhood trauma and how it shapes our lives and our moments. All of it. So, that pretty much the world, what we're going to talk about, and actually this is a great topic for today to kind of start with, because really the world, in my experience, is a big movie screen. Let's call it a hologram.
Sure.
A hologram, if you will. And everything that we see is not true in the sense, I'm not dismissing trauma or any experiences at all. But I'm saying that it's not true in the sense that we're always bringing our own projections onto it. Now, that's not saying when a whole mass of people watch a murder, I'm not saying, oh, that person really wasn't murdered. I'm not overplaying or spiritually bypassing things that actually happen. I'm not doing that. What I am saying is that when you witness something like that, regardless of the age, the day comes when that's not happening anymore, right? Murder's not happening in front of you. Let's say you witnessed a murder, and I know I'm going for the jugular here. I know that's a very intense example. And then one day life goes on and you haven't dealt with it, and murder is not happening any longer. You are going to, for sure, take whatever undealt, held in feelings happened in that moment, and you are going to project it all over your life. And this is why I am a huge believer in personal development work, healing, spiritual healing. I don't care what it is. I'm a big believer in therapy, in groups, and any kind of healing work, but there are a gazillion ways to heal out there. A gazillion ways. If therapy's not your thing, there are coaches that will help you. There are programs that will help you. There are spiritual programs. There's the Course in Miracles. There's Eckhart Tolle. There's Byron Katie. There's the Four Principles. Like, name it. My plea, I just basically stand for healing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So what do you have to say on this topic, Jonah? Because you can say a few things, because I actually brought some questions today that I thought would be fun. I did not give my son a heads up on this. Not intentionally. I just found them during my work, and I was like, I'm going to bring these today.
Okay.
All right. So, but go ahead. Speak on what you will, Mr. I'm going to be going to school for this. What do you think about this topic, and what do you want to start with?
I mean, I think
I have a piece of hair on my mic.
I think it's absolutely true that every bit of information that anyone ever takes in is purely based on your perception and your perceptive senses. We have obviously our 5 physical senses through which we engage with everything in the world, with sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. And from literally when we are in utero, we are developing those senses, and those are the mechanisms that allow us to take in things from the world. So, we're never actually, in the way that you said, taking in an actual event. We're taking in our own perception of an event. And those perceptions can be changed by so many different things in so many different ways. Trauma is a huge one that changes a lot of people. The opposite of trauma, positive reinforcement, can be a great way to positively associate emotions with certain things happening and see the world in a very positive way. Changes to your actual senses over time can impact how you take in things and how you see the world. As you continue to age, your senses change. Some become stronger, some become weaker.
I'm just kidding.
And all
what was
of
that word age that I reacted to?
Sorry about that one. Mm-hmm. The unfortunate truth.
Well, maybe not so unfortunate, but
I don't think it's unfortunate, but it is a reality.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that contributes to, it is quite very possible that two people perceive the same event and come away with completely different accounts and completely different stories from what happened based on what's going on. So for my own example, something that happened to me when I was a kid was my grandparents on my dad's side had this tiny little white terrier whose name was Bonkers.
Yeah, the name says it all.
The name really does say it all. And this dog was a little menace. He was like 8 pounds, and I probably first met him when I was like 6 months or a year old. And when I first started walking around the apartment when visiting my grandparents, he would viciously attack me and he would come after me.
I didn't know this, by the way. I now know it, but I did not. No one told me this for years and years.
Yes.
Or I would have gone bonkers.
But so
I'm here all week.
this this continued for a while in my childhood, and I became very, very fearful, mostly of little dogs, but also dogs in general. I not only had that particular experience with a small dog, but I then generalized that onto all dogs.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why did this continue to happen? Without, I'm not asking to put go, pa, or dad down. Absolutely not. Dad was a good dad. I'm not. But why did this continue to happen? Like if I saw a dog attack you, it would never happen again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, attempts were made to sort of keep him in certain areas of the house, but my grandmother ultimately wanted him to have his freedom. So
wait, can we keep going?
We can keep going with my story.
Go ahead.
Because this doesn't really have anything to do with Lens, what you're talking about.
It will, but finish your story.
Anywho, Bonkers died, thankfully, probably around the time I was 10. And thus began the time in my life where the stimulus was gone from what had caused all of this grief and anxiety for me, but my response still was there. I was still very afraid of dogs, especially little dogs. Thankfully, I had many, many dogs in my life who were very positive and wonderful. And so I slowly started to repair my own relationship with dogs. But most of them were big, so I still had an aversion to little dogs for a while. And it took a very, very long time for me to accept the idea that not all little dogs are terrifying creatures. And it took me sort of having to understand that Bonkers was from a shelter and he had had abuse inflicted upon him. And my grandmother was not very good at controlling him or limiting his movement around the house. So I was exposed to him more than I should have been.
And people weren't very good at controlling your grandmother, obviously.
Yes, people weren't very good at controlling my grandmother.
Really, we're going to call a spade on this show.
And, you know, I had to completely reshape my lens around little dogs to not be terrified by them every time I walked into a room and one was there. And to this day, I still have a tiny little bit of apprehension when I see a little dog. I think that they're, you know, very rightly so, terrified tiny little creatures who rely on everyone else to take care of them. Mm-hmm. And I think that they can oftentimes be a little bit skittish.
Mm-hmm. How did you work through it, Jonah? How did you work through you said it took you a long time to work through that. How did you work through that?
I mean, the main thing was just not refusing to engage with little dogs when they came into my life and being willing to step over them and step around them and step past them, things that I had done that had triggered Bonkers into a vicious attack. I had to be willing to put myself in those situations again with the risk that, sure, it might happen, but also everyone's telling me that their dog is fine. You know, I learned to trust an owner when they told me about their dog. And not, you know, and trust that over my own fear of those dogs. And little by little, I had experiences that reinforced this new idea that not all little dogs were evil. And I was able to change my own instinctual response to little dogs that had been formed by trauma as a kid. So it was a long process, and it required me putting myself in positions where I was really afraid of like stepping by this dog.
Right, but I think would you agree that what it came down to, for lack of, or just for lack of a better phrase, are beliefs. You had to work with the belief that not all little dogs were bonkers.
Yes, and I had to directly face my fear that all little dogs were bonkers.
Right. And but the fear came from a belief.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Yes.
So we're really talking about what the experiences in our life push us to believe.
Yes. Yes, it was yes.
And that it's really the intensity of the situation that pushes a belief. Because like, if you walked by someone with a blue shirt on and they bumped your shoulder and your shoulder hurt a little bit, that wouldn't necessarily, if every day of your life as a child you walked by someone who intentionally bumped your shoulder with a blue shirt, it would take a lot of those bumps to eventually have you go, people with blue shirts bump my shoulder and it hurts. But it only, you see what I'm saying? It took just a couple of times, for even just one, for a small white crazy dog to literally threaten your safety.
Yeah.
So it really also depends on the impact and the intensity of what's happening that shape our beliefs. And
certainly, yeah, I think that is absolutely one of the causes of why something sticks for us is intensity. When it's like a traumatic,
right.
When it's a traumatic thing.
So I bring it up not to put anybody down, because I'm sure I could find a 1,000 examples as a parent raising you where I could have been more astute, and I just wasn't capable in those moments, right? But to stay on the example of bonkers, it wasn't just that Gogo wanted Bonkers to have his freedom. It was that there seems to have been some disconnect in people being afraid to say to Gogo, no, he's attacking Jonah.
Yeah.
So, Jonah either isn't going to be here, and by all means, Bonka can have his freedom, or Bonker's going to be kept behind right, so that Jonah doesn't get attacked and isn't in danger.
Yes.
So again, whatever prevented that from happening is exactly what we're talking about today. Mm-hmm. Right? And again, not putting anyone or anything down, not putting Dad down, not putting Pa down, right? They did the best they could in the moment with Gogo. Mm-hmm. Right? But look at what it did to you.
Yes. Yeah.
So I say that clearly and astutely because a lot of you are raising children right now. A lot of you are raising adult children because, as my very brilliant therapist has taught me over time, the weller we get, the weller they get. So formative years are incredibly important. Do not get me wrong. But formative years are forever, in my opinion. Forever and ever and ever. So the better I get, Jonah constantly has an opportunity to better himself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And it's true, yes, that scientifically the brain cements itself at 25. All that's true, and it becomes a little bit harder after that. The pliability of the brain, if we're going to get into the science of it. But that's not that's not the end all be all. And I say that as a measure of hope. That is not the end all be all. I come from a schizoaffective mother who attempted the life of me and my siblings. I was her target. She loathed me during her illness and then had great remorse for that in the very small moments, the very short moments she was well. She was not well a lot. And it literally rocked my entire childhood. I had a father who relied heavily on food and alcohol to cope. and who died when I was 15 years old. He was 41. And so my life was quite traumatic growing up. So my formative years were fucked. They were kind of shot. And I'm actually a very well-balanced, good person who looks back over some of the experiences in my life that I'm either happy with or not happy with. And I'm pretty conscious about all of it. So I should be a big fat blob of hope for all of you out there who doesn't know if there's any hope. There is all the time.
Certainly.
Is that a good thing to say?
Yeah, you are a very good example of that.
Well, thank you, honey. I'm not going for a yay me here. I'm just, I guess between your example and me talking a little bit about my own, this is our kickoff show. And our whole purpose of being here is, in fact, to bring a little hope to this crazy fucking world right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we need it more than ever.
We do need it. And I'm a swearer, by the way. That should be, I'm going to do my best not to swear. But this isn't a kid show.
No, definitely not a kid show.
This is not a kid podcast. So
rated R for raunchy.
I don't know about that.
It's a joke.
No one's going to be standing on the table stripping.
Is that your idea of raunchy?
No, it's worse.
Okay.
Raunchy's even worse than that to me.
Well, we'll leave it at that. Let the viewers decide what's going on in her head.
We'll let your healing continue. We won't traumatize you anymore by you getting into your mother's definition of raunchy.
Okay. I like that. I like that separation of church and state right there.
Let's just say your mother didn't just fall off the turnip truck. What do you think of that saying?
I think you definitely didn't just fall off the turnip truck.
Even though I'm only 35.
Even though she's only 35 and somehow has been doing this work for over 45 years. Miraculous stuff.
46.
46.
But who's counting? So should I bring out the questions?
Let them rip.
That I encountered?
Sure.
This was from a book that I read. I have to just check my blood sugar. I am post-bariatric reactive hypoglycemic, and sometimes my blood sugar drops depending on how I have. See, it's still, I need to go get I'm going to have to get my kit in a minute.
Okay.
To test my blood, actually. But I'm going to bring out the questions first.
Okay.
So I read a book. I don't remember what the book was, but it brought you through these questions. And it's the questions about greatness and reaching our potential, right? And since we're talking about our lenses and how they sort of help structure our lives and create our lives, really unconsciously, I thought these were kind of cool questions, and I can read my answers as well. So it's just not you on the hot seat.
Okay.
But it's about greatness and our blocks around greatness. Because I think our blocks around greatness really have to do with bonding. I think everything in this world is built on, how do I not feel alone?
Yeah.
How do I not feel separate? How do I not lose my family? How do I not lose love?
Yeah.
I think that separation and abandonment in all forms is enough. It pushes people over the edge. If you think about how the suicide rate is highest around Christmas time, people are feeling the most alone.
Yeah.
They're feeling familyless and emptyless and valueless and worthless, and they literally kill themselves off.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about greatness, whether you have a home or not. You don't have to have a home, and you don't have to make a lot of money to be great or to pick your life up. Not at all. And I do want to put a shout out that, especially in our world today, I have no judgments around people who are at the bottom of the barrel. There's a whole psychology behind that. So I hope you get to listen too from wherever you are. I hope if you're at the bottom of the barrel right now, you're listening to this too, because we include you in this. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
So the questions are, If you asked, you're saying this right now.
To myself?
Yeah.
Or are you asking me?
So let's say I'm asking it to me.
You're asking it to me.
No, this is me asking me.
Okay.
If you asked my father about me achieving greatness, he would say.
Yep.
So say that line.
If you asked me about my father achieving greatness.
Nope. If you asked my father about me achieving greatness.
If you asked my father about me achieving greatness.
He would say.
He would say.
And what's your answer? This is the lens. We're talking about the lens right now, right?
Yep. He's very capable. He can do whatever he wants. He sometimes has trouble working hard enough to achieve what he wants. And sometimes favors pleasure over hard work. And so has not necessarily gotten where he wants to be.
Great, Jonah. That is such a beautiful, honest answer.
Thank you.
So what I'm hearing you say, and I'm not going to put you on the hot seat. I too will answer this. But you're saying if you asked Dad about you achieving greatness, he'd say you are more than capable to achieve whatever it is you want to achieve.
Yes.
And sometimes he sees you as someone he would critique you, or his vision of you is that you struggle with hard work.
Yes.
And sometimes choose comfort over working hard to get what you want.
Yes.
Got you. You think that's what he would say about you. So do you think that that's true? Do you think any of that's true about you? Like, where's your lens with that?
I think that that's a pretty binary way to put it. I think that work ethic is a cultural value, especially in America, that we've really been taught to hold in very high regard. And I think that work ethic is usually, it's very specifically attached to productivity, and productivity that is measurable, not necessarily for your own benefit, right? Like, we've been taught that working hard equates to a certain level of output or success in an area. If you're applying to college, working hard would look like applying to 10 universities, successfully writing all of your essays just for the sake of doing it. No one, no one's asking if those were 10 colleges that you cared about, that you wanted to attend, or if those essays accurately and truthfully reflected you. It's just about, it's about the number, and we tend to reward productivity. I think it's a very culturally,
we place our value on it.
yeah, it's a culturally admired trait.
You're more valuable and worthy if you blah, blah, blah.
Yes. So I guess my relationship with work ethic is, I used to subscribe to that way of thinking about it, and really, especially when I was in high school and applying to college and thinking about what I wanted to do, I thought it was very important that I was working hard in the traditional sense, that I was putting in my study hours, that I was getting good grades, giving myself opportunities to succeed in life. And I think that all of those goals are really great if they're for a really good reason, and it's something that you really want and are working hard for. But if you think it's just something that you're supposed to be doing, it's not necessarily a great pursuit. So I think for me, I had to change my relationship with why I was working hard, and if that was something that I actually really wanted to do, or if I wanted to take my effort and put it into something else. And, spoiler alert, after I graduated with my degree in economics, I then went and
Spanish, you had a double major.
I did. I then went and traveled around the world and did volunteer work and became a scuba diving instructor.
And spoke Spanish.
Became a bit of a beach bum, but also had a really great time and learned a lot of very cool, valuable lessons, and got to meet a lot of very interesting people. And sort of led a life that a lot of people would probably deem not super hardworking in the context of modern life, but did work incredibly hard to do all those things and had an incredible, rewarding several years of my life.
Absolutely.
So I guess what I would say is sometimes I don't always accomplish what I set out to in the way that I set out to. And that is an area that I do want to grow in and become more disciplined in and get better at being gritty and digging in. And
Like what would one area be?
exercising, taking
Okay.
care of myself.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I'm also at the same time very happy with myself and how I approach things and how I work on things, and recognize that there are areas where I do want to grow, but also recognize that I don't have to for anyone other than myself.
So again, this is a beautiful example of the lens, because the next question, of course, after I answer the one I just gave to you, will be about the mother. And essentially what you're saying is, dad had his lens, and then you took your lens, and some of it was true and some of it wasn't. And because you have had the opportunity to really be with that and work through some of that and keep what works and not keep what doesn't work, your life, in fact, is going well.
Yes, certainly.
Right? Not like you said that dad was right about some things and there are some things you want to work. You're still learning about your relationship with your own body and food and exercise, and you want to improve on that.
Yep.
But really, so what? Like, all in all, you're about to fly off to San Diego. You're about to get your master's in psychology, and you've had a therapist for quite some time, and you've been in and out of therapy for most of your life, so and by the way, I say that from a place that everybody should have the right for a therapist, even if you're not all fucked up. Therapy is like going to school, or take a program or study the course or whatever. You don't have to be all screwed up to do that. So, is it okay that I gave that up?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what you're essentially saying, is that your projection onto the world is how would you sum that up? Are you happy most of the time? Are you content most of the time? Are you?
Yeah, very happy and content most of the time. I tend to see the world in a majority positive way. That doesn't mean that there aren't times where I am deeply affected by the things that are going on, but I tend to be a trusting person. And I tend to see beauty in the world and see beauty in people. And I certainly attribute a lot of that to my parenting, and I attribute a lot of that to the experiences that I've had and have been lucky enough to have. But yeah, my projection, my inner world is pretty bright most of the time, and I project that onto the world at large as well.
Very good, Jim.
Wherever I can.
Very nice. Very nice. So should I go now?
Yeah,
So I'll just read what I wrote when I did these.
sure.
If you ask my father about me achieving greatness, he'd say, she was destined for greatness. My oldest daughter, without any doubt, will achieve the greatest things and be a force to reckon with in the most positive way in this life.
It's a pretty resounding endorsement.
I believe that's what my father, he's not with us anymore, but I believe that is what he would say about me behind my back, and probably did. And I would say that lens saved me. For all that he wasn't, for all of the ways he was skewed and wounded and needed rehabilitation, I knew this man loved me.
Yeah. Do you think you would say that to you directly as well?
Yes, I think you mean if he were alive today.
Yeah, you said he would say it behind your back. I was wondering if you think his answer would change.
I was saying that, like, what would people say when you're not there? What do people say about you?
That makes sense.
I don't know, because I was 15 when he died, and I don't know if he'd be the type of person to do that. My fantasy is he would.
Right.
And the way when he was available, he certainly, he built me up. I mean, when he was available.
Yeah.
The problem was he wasn't available a lot, and then he wasn't available forever when he died. Physically, not up here. Speaking about a lens, but I will say this, with my father and who he was as a person, I did get to watch my father grow. With all of the dysfunction in our family, the last year of his life, I did get to watch him grow. And I do think, Jonah, I don't know, actually. I don't know if he would have said it to my face. That wasn't really the Gen X way. And I also know that a lot of the reason I know this stuff is because people have told me. The people he sat at the bars with, or people, family friends, told me this stuff, But somehow I got that he loved me.
Yeah.
So it did affect my lens in a positive way.
Yeah.
His death affected it. It destroyed me. It was a terrible thing to go through at 15 years old, especially with a God rest her soul. My mother was a lovely woman, but very sick, and especially with a schizoaffective mother. Losing my father as the oldest daughter is an experience that has marked my soul.
Yeah.
That also is a lens conversation that we could have, So and we will over time.
Yeah.
Do I need to say more, or is that pretty good?
I think that's pretty good.
All right, next question. How we doing? Oh, we still got plenty of time. Next question. If you ask my mother about me achieving greatness, she'd say, and you have my permission to say whatever you need to, good, bad, or ugly.
If you ask my mother about me achieving greatness, she would say, he absolutely will. He can in whatever area he decides to, even if it's being a professional athlete.
That's a story worth sharing when you're done.
And I think she would also say my hope for him in that finding greatness is that it is truly greatness for himself and not just greatness in general or greatness for other people that he seeks. Because at the end of the day, I know that what my mother cares most about for me is that I am happy and that I am feeling great about my own life.
Very true. Very, very true.
So finding that version of greatness is equally as important, if not more important, than the greatness itself.
Well, it definitely is, in fact, greatness for me.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit how much money you make, except that I want you to survive and do, have what you need.
Yes, I think,
Anyways, I interrupted. Go ahead. Bring it on down to Mamaville.
So I've never felt, the only thing I have ever felt pressured from my mother in my entire life is the pressure to be okay. to be
How's that for trauma?
To be constantly okay and always okay, which
because of my lens, by the way.
I think that if you have any version of a loving parent, that is generally what drives pretty much everything, even if it's through the lens of, obviously, I think your lens impacted you because a lot of times when you were a kid, things weren't okay.
I wasn't asked and things weren't okay.
Right. So I think...
So I became a little bit overly in that area.
Right. I think you
dropped a little bit.
You were hell-bent on making sure that I did not experience that.
Yes.
And that entailed a lot of checking in and a lot of, just general measures to make sure that I was okay. And
Sometimes it looked like this. Are you okay? Tell me you're okay. Tell me you're okay. He's being very polite right now.
well, I feel like I'm being fair.
Okay.
I think that being okay, my mom would see that as greatness.
Yes.
She would see that as a victory. She would see that as mission accomplished.
Dun 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 dun.
Great interlude right there.
Thank you.
Yeah, she would see that as, she would see that as its own form of greatness.
For sure.
So I think greatness is a funny word because I think greatness has come to colloquially be a synonym for success. And
there's a judgment in it, isn't there? It's kind of judgmental in
Yeah,
and
but-
of itself.
I mean, I guess by synonymizing it with success, you are also turning it into sort of a bipolar argument where it's either a success or it's a failure. Where if you don't achieve greatness, it's a failure, or it's not, it's not the desired outcome.
But I think you're also talking like you did with your scuba diving. And by the way, just to be very clear, Jonah is a dive master and a scuba instructor. So you downplayed that a little bit. And I understand why. It was for the color of what you were explaining, that some people would see that as sort of a hippie beach bum way of life. But he was achieving, and you were also down, talk about going into the depths of the soul with people who were terrified down there, and you had to be with them. You had to make sure they were okay. Like, we underestimate. This is what I mean by judgment is, greatness can be judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
We have this one vision of what greatness is. That's what you're talking about right now. And if you're not like, and I'm using a very broad example here, on Wall Street, making a gazillion dollars, able to support your family, these very important interludes, gap years that they're called now as well. Kids take gap years after high school. They travel. Oh yeah, get a real job. They're the things that these kids are learning while they're traveling around the world or backpacking through Europe is more that they're going to get in any freshman year of college.
Yeah.
Your scuba. Your scuba. The alarms are going off. Experience, I believe, is what was molding you to figure out what you did, in fact, want to do at the next phase of your life.
Absolutely.
And you didn't really know that at the time. You didn't know that's what it was doing.
Yeah.
So parents, if your kids are talking about taking a gap year or going to do some scuba, or don't worry. Look at this guy. Don't worry. Our job is to give them wings and push them out the door. Really.
It's true.
You need to say more?
No.
I kind of cut you off, but
No, I think that's my answer on that. Let's hear yours.
very sorry about this. I keep having to put a little bit of sugar in my system. So
We don't apologize for taking care of ourselves.
there you go. We don't. I'm just checking my blood sugar again here. I'm still good. All right. So there was a time, by the way, when I was well over 300 pounds. For those of you, also talk about a lens, learning to take care of yourself. When my blood sugar it was too high. It was up in the 300, 400, 500s. And that all changed with tremendous weight loss And the weight loss, speaking about a lens, did not come from just how many calories I inhaled and how much exercise I exhaled. It's been an entire lifetime. I'm going to do some individual stuff on this at some point on camera. An entire lifetime of looking at my relationship to food and body and self. That's what had me kick off 150 pounds over 10 years. Not food, not exercise. That was a natural part of the process, but it was my relationship to myself. Okay. Get off my soapbox. If you ask my mother about me achieving greatness, she'd say, I hurt her badly. Although my daughter was born with the great potential to achieve the greatest things, I may have ruined her. That's what my mother would have said. And I did just choke back tears. That's what she would have said. I may have ruined that. All right, well, that's a wrap.
Do you feel like she ruined it?
No, not even close. I will say, however, it's been a bitch of a walk. So when we talk about you, and I liked how you said it. You said you would say most of the time you feel bright about life.
Yeah.
Mine has been very, very opposite that. Most of the time in my life, there was a darkness that I cannot even describe.
Yeah.
And for those of you out there watching this who struggle with mental illness with your children have it. For you children out there, both young and old, who have a parent with mental illness, if you don't get support, you will be walking in dark alone. Not really, by the way. I'm not saying you're ever alone, but it will feel like you are walking in darkness alone, because if there is anything that is minimized on this walk, and a lot of things are, let's just start with that. Child trafficking, pedophilia, let's not even go there, right? Rape, murder, the effects of alcoholism and addiction. There are a lot of things that we already partially sweep under the rug. But in my opinion, the biggest thing that actually leads all the things, this is the gateway to all the things I just spoke about, is in fact mental illness. We do not have a fucking clue. And we do not understand, only this much we understand, of how it impacts our own lives when we have it, but the lives of the people we're raising, the lives of the people that surround us. It is a motherfucker when it is not dealt with.
Yeah. Sometimes even when it is dealt with.
When it is dealt with, for sure. But I think, to piggyback on this, we all, Dr. Jan has taught me this, we all have our own form and brand of temporary psychosis.
Yes, we do.
When we're driving to work in traffic, and I'm using "we're" broadly, and we flick off the person next to us, that is a form of temporary psychosis.
Yes.
You with me? Mm-hmm. When I lose my mind temporarily and scream at someone, even if that person might deserve to be put in their place in the moment or needs to be, it depending on how I'm reacting to that, I'm either in wellness or temporary psychosis. You with me?
Yeah.
I forgot. Where am I going? My menopausal brain just kicked in. Where am I going with this? Do you know?
I think you were going with when mental illness is left untreated.
Untreated.
It's very detrimental.
So no, Jonah, to answer your question, my mother did not ruin me in any way. But the reason I wasn't ruined is because I dug in, starting at age 15, into my own work.
Yeah.
It could have ruined me. It could have. Now, Do I believe anybody can truly be ruined? No, I don't believe that in this world. I believe if I'm watching a hologram of someone be ruined, there's probably reasons beyond what I can see that the powers that be are, I'm learning a lesson, they're learning a lesson. I don't know why anybody's actually here. I don't know why there are some people we watch go down the tubes and die a lonely death. I don't know the reason for that. If I can help somebody prevent that, will I? Absolutely. But when it's not prevented, I don't know why my mother had to die a death like she did. But I do know that the reason I was not destined for a life of ruin is because I worked my ass off.
Yeah.
I didn't allow it to ruin me, and I had a lot of people help me not have it ruin me.
Yeah.
Is that all fair? And said well, I guess is the question.
I think so. Should we do one more question?
Yes. One more.
You can pick any of them. Pick
Okay.
your favorite.
All right. Let's end on a positive.
All right. You can trust me. I can spin any one of them into a positive.
I know you can. I know that about you. What excites me about achieving greatness is
What excites me about achieving greatness is the idea that despite whatever I have a pretty healthy self-image, but that does not mean that there aren't areas about myself where sometimes I feel like I let myself down or I feel a little bit disappointed. And I think what excites me about greatness is the idea that I will no longer have an excuse or rational way to believe the things that I sometimes believe about myself.
very good.
When it comes to ways in which I'm failing or ways in which I'm not meeting my own expectations for myself or ways in which I feel I am deficient or are weaknesses, areas I need to grow in. I think I look forward to not being able to support my own arguments with factual evidence to show that there was something I could have done in an area that I really wanted to and didn't meet the mark. So yeah, the opportunity to not reinforce the stories in my head about not being the person I want to be.
That's wonderful. That's a good answer, honey.
Thank you.
That's a good lens. That's a good lens you're projecting onto the world, kiddo.
What about you?
What excites me about achieving greatness is feeling freedom finally, feeling free and capable and at peace, and being able to leave everyone behind and not worry about my solace. So when I leave people behind, usually by their choice, I don't have to worry about my own solace. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And sustaining the wonderful relationships I do have. And I won't need to worry about them anymore as I will be self-sufficient. And perhaps most of all, being financially independent and abundant. Does that make sense, that answer? That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I think an interesting observation that I have is I think the majority of your answer was rooted in how it will have you feel about your relationship to other people. I heard you speak about, finally being free.
Yes.
Which I think is very important. But I also heard, not feeling afraid to leave people behind, feeling really good and deeply rooted in your relationships.
And what do you make of all this?
Well, I think what I make of all of it is I think this is a very good it's a very good example of the difference of our lenses.
Okay.
I think, I know one of the things that you've talked about, and I assume this is okay for me to speak on, but one of the things that you've talked about to me about being one of your biggest wounds is an abandonment wound.
Absolutely. My abandonment wound. I did not have the opportunity to really attach to my mom. She was too sick.
And that was not something that I ever suffered from. So I feel like in your answer it was reflected that you want to feel okay in leaving people behind, knowing that it was because they couldn't hang with you or be with you in the way that you were in life, because that would mean that it wasn't your fault that they left or couldn't hang.
Very astute, honey.
And
Very
with
astute.
relationships, and that's not a fear that I experience. So for me, greatness, I guess, has nothing to do with people leaving or staying, because I'm not afraid that people will leave. Greatness isn't a requirement for me to trust that people will stick around in my life.
So what you're saying is kind of like, just like greatness, what excites you about greatness is kind of facing down the places that greatness, what excites you, let me just form this sentence, is kind of putting into place the places inside you that don't think you can achieve or do certain things, right?
Yes.
So what excites you about your greatness is that that's going to come along with it.
Yeah.
Or even help you step into it more and more and more.
Yes.
For me, you're saying this is a fundamental difference in our upbringings.
Mm-hmm.
What excites me about greatness is the thought in the possibility that I'm going to be able to be okay even with all the loss I've gone through.
Yeah.
And that I'm going to be able to put into place, and this is actually true, that the people that I will, quote, leave behind isn't because I left them behind. Like, this is an important part of greatness for me. I think that there's a guilt for me
Yes.
that goes along with achieving my own greatness. I feel guilty because the people that I wanted to bring along with me didn't want to come with me.
Yeah.
They actually, the only people that have ever, quote, I've left behind are the people that literally in all but said, we don't want to come with you.
Right. And I think that greatness is like the ultimate vindication, and it is the writing on the wall that whatever may have transpired in your past is not your fault. Like, it's
For sure.
Greatness means that, oh, it wasn't me, it was them.
Which part? What wasn't me? What?
Like the part where the people who were left behind, they weren't left behind because it was your fault, because there was something about you that needed to be left. They were left behind because you were on this path to actually growing and achieving greatness, and it was not something that they were interested in. It puts the ball in their court.
Right. But how do you, that's very, I argue with none of that. What I'm curious about is the question, though, that we're ending on today is, what excites me about greatness the most?
Yeah.
What is all that, do you think, has to do with greatness? Do you understand what I mean? Like, what are we both saying? Like what excites you about greatness is what? And what excites me about greatness is what, would you say? I have my own thoughts, but I want to hear yours first.
I think what excites me about greatness is,
like, it sounds like freedom to me.
yeah, I guess for me it is just the knowledge that I'm capable. That
So that's
I
what
set out to, and I did, and that means that I'm a very capable person. Like, it means that.
And that excites you, that you have capabilities that you actually pursued and met.
Yeah.
Your own game You're
Yeah.
in your own game. And the excitement, what excites you is that you're going to be able to be in competition with you and you alone and achieve your own greatness.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because the reality is, even without greatness, I'm still pretty happy. I'm still pretty at peace. I don't need greatness to feel good about myself, but I like that greatness would allow me to feel, if there's an area in my life where I do feel a little bit less developed or less complete, it's in, what have I been working towards and what have I achieved? And, what are my capabilities in that area? That's what excites me about greatness.
I got you. And for me,
I think
just the plain and simple knowledge that none of it was my fault.
Yeah. I think that I feel like that for me is what I watch you struggle with as like the ultimate.
Yeah.
Guilt isn't the right word, but the ultimate worry.
I would say it's shame.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah. It's the ultimate.
Worry. Yeah.
I think it's.
That my soul is black.
Yes.
That I really am not a good person.
Yes. That all the things that people have said are true, that, from your childhood, that.
Yeah. Just to give you guys a little bit of context, and I know we're coming to the end of the hour, my mother in her worst moments really, truly, not made up, loathed me. And I had people that she had as friends confirm that. I was told over and over again as a child, her illness was my fault. My mother believed that in her illness. This is not, this was a story that was handed to me. That your mother's illness, you're a bad girl, basically, and you're making your mother sick. This is what my mother believed in her deepest, darkest moments. And talk about a lens, right? In my mother's psychosis, that's psychosis anyways, right? Even if she had the best childhood, that's psychosis anyways. But somewhere in her childhood, she didn't believe she was a good girl either, right? That was sort of being blown up by this imbalance, right? And I also understand that people who have severe mental illness often do have target children. That I'm not alone in that. So, but this was pounded into me, and then the baton was passed, right? And we won't get into that. And I do struggle. This is why I want to really support people who are in families with mental health. I do struggle still. As wonderful of a person as I know I am, I do struggle still with, am I a bad person? And I have to work daily very hard to not feel that everything that has gone on in the world, in my family, in my son's life is my fault all the time. So I still am not clear, and that's okay, with what excites me about greatness most. I'm still a little lost as to what excites me about greatness most is blah, blah, blah. I don't know what the answer to that is.
Yeah.
That said, there you go. We just exposed me very, very openly, didn't we?
In a beautiful way, I think.
In a beautiful way. So, is there anything else you want to say about that? Or the relationship that we're talking about with me and greatness? Is there anything, other ideas you have? Or are you good?
No, I think I expressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess that takes us to the end of our first episode. And, just as a little, sorry, honey, just as a little lightening up, little light talk. What do you plan for this week and this weekend? I know you got some fun things coming up.
Yeah, I'm going away to Vermont. Every year, me and my friends, we go up to my good friend's cabin in the north woods of Vermont, all the way up by the Canadian border. And we engage in some lakeside activities, some outdoor hikes, some shenanigans, the usual summertime uplifting activities.
In the good old summertime. Okay, go ahead.
Third time's the charm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and planning to move to San Diego. That's the big item right now. I know that's what you're working on too.
I'm helping them.
Yeah. But yeah, doing some more episodes, getting to know you guys a little bit better, giving you some more of us to latch onto and get to know about us. And yeah.
Bring it on down to
Podcastville indeed. Well, thank you guys for listening to our first episode.
Thank you so much. And we will get more comfortable with it all.
Oh, yeah. And we look forward to continuing to break down what it's like to be human and the things that we all go through and that none of us want to talk about. And we need to talk about anyway because they're there, they're real, and they're not going anywhere.
Amen. Amen. Join me. Amen. Come on, honey. Amen. 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 Bring it on down to Jonahville.
Maybe after episode 5, I'll get there, but we got to let the natural progression have its course.
All right. Down to now we got to do an intro.
Yeah. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you. See you next week.
We'll see you next week.
All right.